This service was recorded on January 5th, 2025. It is the third on Reflections of Our UU Values, Justice, by the Reverend Dr. Mark Y.A. Davies, as presented at Red River Unitarian Universalist Church in Denison, Texas. Welcome from Red River Unitarian Universalist. Thank you for joining us. The religion we practice in this church is centered in the here and now, rather than the hereafter. It is more of a thinking kind of religion than a believing kind. It is governed more by reason than by tradition, more concerned with the present than the past. It is concerned with getting the most out of life, with living wisely and well. A major aim for us is continually expanding our understanding of life and ourselves. This church is a community of people who share in the free and open search for a level of understanding that will enable us to be more fully and effectively alive. The church does not tell us what we must believe. It stimulates us to think. It supports us in our search. You are welcome to join us. Our centering value is love, with transformation, generosity, equity, interdependence, justice, and pluralism.
We gather together today with sacred intention to declare that justice is our prayer. We affirm in covenant with the beloved community that is possible. Not here, not quite yet. The seeds have been planted time and again, and we remember all those who went before us, who made beloved community a dream that could be realized. Justice is our prayer. May our time of worship together continue to water the budding trees of our diverse interdependence. May our time of service give air and nourishment to the parts of our collective spirits that need to grow and thrive, that embrace equity as a known way of being. Justice is our prayer. We affirm in covenant with the beloved community that is possible. May it be so. At this time, we have an opportunity to light our candles of community. You can light a candle for a joy or concern, or simply to bring more light into our space. Let us stand together in body or spirit for our chalice lighting and our spoken affirmation and the lighting of the peace candle. We light this flame to ignite the sacred power of justice. We light this flame so that it may be a beacon of hope in moments of uncertainty, fear, anxiety, and the unknown. We light this flame and are emboldened by its blaze, knowing our strength as a prophetic and powerful people is rooted in the diverse ways we answer the call to love. Let us join together in our spoken affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and freedom, and to help one another. We light this peace candle to remind us of all the places in the world where there is no peace. Join me in the words now on the screen. Lead me from death to life, from falsehood to truth. Lead me from despair to hope, from fear to trust. Lead me from hate to love, from war to peace. Let peace fill our hearts, our world, our universe. Our opening thought this morning comes from John Rawls, from his A Theory of Justice. He writes, "Justice is the first virtue of social institutions, as truth is of systems of thought. A theory, however elegant and economical, must be rejected or revised if it is untrue. Likewise, laws and institutions, no matter how efficient and well-arranged, must be reformed or abolished if they are unjust."
Where is our holy church, where race and class unite, as equal persons in the search for beauty, truth, and right? Where is our holy writ, where a human heart, a sacred torch of truth has lit by inspiration taught? Where is our Holy One, a mighty host respond? The people rise in every land to break the captive's bond. Where is our holy land, within the human soul, wherever free minds truly seek with character the goal? Where is our paradise, in aspiration's sight, wherein we hope to see arise 10,000 years of right?
Our next reading comes from Hannah Arendt, from her work the Thinking Book, notebook number 9. She writes, "Human beings find one another as persons because they need one another. This is love. And they live together as citizens because they must become and remain masters of the natural necessities. This collective mastery, though, is the real domain of action. In acting, the human being called upon to aspire to justice and constantly tempted by the possibility of using violence to free themselves from the compulsion of the natural necessities. They bear political responsibility then, together with others." Our meditation this morning comes from Scott D. Cooper, titled "To Light the Darkness and Begin Again." Let us sit comfortably, both feet on the ground, breathing in and out. In and out. There is a glow far off in the distance, a light to which no path leads. We know that each time we help one another or join with them to help the world, each time we stand up for justice and what is right, each time we work and hope and love against all odds, a spark is created that adds to the intensity of that light. We join with others who see and turn toward the glow. As we travel toward that beacon, the underbrush of indifference is flattened and a path is created. More are led to join us, and obstacles are kicked away, and a road is formed. Many approach the light, strengthened by our works, and we join them to each light a candle. Although many candles are lighted, the blaze never diminishes. We travel out into the world again to light the darkness and begin again. The cycle continues, our work intensifying the glow and our joining with others to travel to the blaze and light our candles again. We continue knowing that one day we, or our grandchildren, or perhaps their grandchildren, will no longer travel that widened and trodden path to light a candle, because dawn has arrived, justice is commonplace, and poverty is vanquished, and the beloved community stands illuminated in the fullness of daylight. Our next reading comes from Bernice King, titled A Passion for Justice. Nonviolence seeks to defeat injustice and not people. Nonviolence seeks to defeat injustice and not people. We must do something about injustice, but in the process of addressing injustice, we always want to preserve a person's humanity. The decisions and choices that people have made and the actions that they've taken may be hateful, wrong, and unjust, but at the end of the day, they are still a part of our human family.
Everybody knows
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine all around the world. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine all around my neighborhood. All around my neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine. All around my neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine. All around my neighborhood, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Guitar solo, let it shine, brother. This little light of mine, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine one more time. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
I'm very glad we sang that version and not the version I remember from my conservative youth camp days.
That's the one I liked.
Little few different lyrics there. I like those very well. This morning we continue with a series of reflections on our Unitarian Universalist shared values. These were the values that were adopted by the UUA General Assembly earlier this year. Last year now, you're right, 225. There you go, thank you. Time flies. Last year, the last two times I was with you last year, we looked at the values of interdependence and pluralism. And today, this year, we are reflecting on the value of justice. Justice. In relation to the value of justice, the General Assembly affirmed that justice is, quote, working to create diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all can thrive, end quote. Given this understanding of justice, this vision of justice, I would suggest that the moral mandate for justice does not lie in what one has achieved, does not lie in what one has, does not lie in the wealth or power that one has accumulated. The moral mandate for justice lies in the equal and inherent sacred worth of each and every person. It lies in the rights that each and every person has and in our moral duty to respect them, to respect their rights, to respect their persons. But sadly, the concept of justice is often warped and misused to protect the status quo. It's often warped and misused to control people rather than to treat all persons in a just way. This is extremely obvious in our criminal justice system, in which the rich and powerful are rarely held to account for their misdeeds, in which the vulnerable often have little recourse to experience true justice. I think we know of some examples of this, right?
Yes.
It can also be seen, this warped and misuse, this warped understanding, this misuse of justice can also be seen in the laws and the procedures that the wealthy and the powerful have put into place to protect their power and profits. For the poor and the vulnerable, a warped concept of justice is used to keep them in their place. That's why so many who cry out for justice so often find that their justice is denied. We have been conditioned to accept injustice by those who are perpetuating this warped understanding of it. We've been conditioned to accept injustice by believing the lie that there is not enough. There's not enough. There's not enough for all of us to flourish. There's not enough for all of us to have the food that we need. There's not enough for us all to have the health care that we need. There's not enough for us all to have the shelter and the human flourishing that we all desire. A sure symptom of societal sickness is when we make heroes out of hoarders of wealth. I think we know some examples of that as well. Martin Luther King was aware of this societal sickness when he wrote these words. He wrote, "There's nothing new about poverty. What is new, however, is that we now have the resources to get rid of it. There is no deficit in human resources. The deficit is in human will." There are also many in our society who want to ignore the injustices of the past and even to erase them completely from history, or at least from our history books in our schools. But not teaching about the injustices of the past simply perpetuates them in the present and into the future. If we ever want to have true justice, if we ever want true justice to become a reality in our communities, in our society, in the world, it's going to be imperative that we realize that society will never experience justice without equality of access to education, to health care, equal protection of all persons under the law. We put it in writing, but we don't put it into practice. Equal accountability of all persons to just laws. Remember that an unjust law is no law at all, so there have to be just laws. And also, something you know I like to talk about, the preservation of a livable climate. All of these things are prerequisites for justice to become a reality in our world. It's also important to see that true liberty, we like to talk about liberty and justice for all in our society, but true liberty is inseparable from justice. It's inseparable from justice because justice provides the context in which freedom can be expressed in ways that are responsible. Not only responsible to ourselves and to other persons, but responsible for all life. Justice channels our will to freedom in ways that respect and enhance the freedom of others. I am free. I will myself to be free. I will you to be free, but we do so in a way that respects one another, that does not harm one another. In our deliberations on justice, it's also important not to limit ourselves to justice in the human community alone, but also to ask ourselves how we may act justly in the community of all life on earth. We as human beings have rational capability. We have the ability to reason, and we treasure that ability to reason that we have, and we want other persons to respect that, and we see ourselves as having rights, moral claims in relation to other persons because of our rational ability, but that's not the only thing that gives us moral worth. Our ability to feel, our ability to suffer, our ability to enjoy experience also gives us moral worth, and we share so many of those things with other than human life. And therefore, they ought also to be included in our deliberations about how we act justly. Although the cultivation of justice requires a commitment by individuals to act justly towards one another, we also have to recognize that justice is not just about individual behavior. A truly just society can only exist through the establishment of systemic justice. And this systemic justice must be supported by community-established policies and laws that protect the rights and welfare of both human and other than human life. At its core, justice is about relationships and the rights and respect that we are due in those relationships. If justice is to be established and preserved, it requires robust systems that intentionally cultivate respect towards others, and also protection of our rights as we relate to one another within community. At its core, justice is a relational act. It's a relational commitment. We strive for relationships that are just among individuals. We strive for just relationships within society, which includes social justice. And social justice entails racial justice, gender justice, and justice for persons regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identities. We strive for just relationships within our economic systems. This is a tough one, because in our society, we tend to lift up only one economic system as the only way that we can interact with each other through business and exchange. We need to look for just relationships within our economic system, and that may mean questioning the current status quo when it comes to economic systems. We need to search for economic justice. And we also strive for just relationships with our ecological community. And this includes environmental justice, which also includes making sure that persons who are the most vulnerable, the most poor, and persons who come from different backgrounds are not more vulnerable simply because of where they live in relation to the ecological problems that we have. It also means developing ecological justice, justice for all life. And then finally, all forms of social justice will be unsustainable without climate justice. If we don't have a livable climate, social justice cannot be sustained. 2024 was once again the warmest year on record. 2023 is the second warmest year on record. All 10 of the warmest years on record have been since 2014. Social justice is not sustainable without climate justice. It is sadly not a surprise, given our situation in the world, that so many persons are expressing themselves politically in irrational ways, not rational ways. Not only here, but all around the world. We're seeing irrational expressions of political life all around the world. And there are many reasons for this. But one core reason that we cannot ignore is this. One core reason is the underlying social and ecological unsustainability of our current global economic practices. When wealth inequality in the human community and our relationship with our ecological community become as unsustainable as they currently are, irrational and desperate political expressions, though deeply tragic, are predictable. The only way to improve the current state of affairs is to deal with these underlying conditions, these underlying economic injustices. And this is increasingly difficult to do, given the irrational political expressions that we see. And it becomes like a vicious cycle. But we must continue to look for ways to break that cycle. We must continue to look for ways to break into and move towards a more sustainable future for all. If we don't, we'll never have lasting peace. We'll never have lasting peace. We have to address the gross economic injustice of wealth inequality, both domestically and globally, if we are ever to have peace. And remember, Martin Luther King reminds us that peace is not simply the absence of tension, it's the presence of justice. The good news is this, among other things that are also good news, but this is good news. The good news is that Unitarian Universalists, at least through these shared values that were adopted last year at the General Assembly, recognize and hold up justice as one of the 6 shared values. And all those shared values are centered on love. But justice is seen as one of the 6 shared values. And if Unitarian Universalists and other communities work together for justice, work together for just relationships among each other, locally in our communities, with all of the human community and with all of the ecological community, if we work for justice for all, both for humans and for other than human life, we might be able to bring a little bit more of our vision of beloved community into reality. May it be so.
It's time for our giving, and I want to make sure that for those of you that didn't read the newsletter, we're going to be starting a Share the Bowl program. Before COVID, Red River Unitarian Universalist Church had a tradition of Share the Bowl. At the time, we did just one Sunday a month. However, it is recommended that the churches do it every Sunday. In this practice, all cash that is deposited in the bowl each Sunday is donated to charity unless it is otherwise designated. Currently, we have 2 charities we donate to: the Texoma Earth Day Festival and the Texoma Family Shelter. The worship team would like to restart the weekly cash donation going to these 2 charities. We would collect for 6 months and then divide the proceeds between the 2 entities. This is also a social justice program as well. Remember that even a donation of an amount that would cost to purchase a coffee, a soda, or a candy bar will help. As we all do this, it helps us to give. Thank you.
Let us stand together in body or spirit for our benediction and the extinguishing of the chalice. Go in hope, for the arc of the universe is long and we can bend it toward justice. Go in courage, for together we have strength to confront injustice in our daily lives and the larger world. Go in love, because a holy and generous love is both the reason and the means by which we transform our lives. Let us join in extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish these flames, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Stop reading and just carry it on.